Thanks for listening to Curious Cat, a podcast that examines a shadowy space where science and the supernatural collide. I'm your host, Jennifer Hodes. Join me every week as I explore what it means to be a soul in a meat suit. Welcome to Curious Cat. When I was in school, I was presented with book knowledge as if that's all there was to know. Don't bother looking further was the unsaid message. Geologic knowledge, we know how everything came to be. Zoological information, we know every species, every adaptation, every nuance. Science, yes, these are theories, but they have been tested and true. Scientists still wear the word theory like an itchy wool sweater. It's beyond uncomfortable, isn't it? But as I grew up and kept looking for knowledge, I saw previously thought extinct animals found. I saw tested theories get rewritten, then disregarded entirely for the new thing. And that ecosystem of information, it is expanding as we live and breathe. With advances in instruments alone, we're able to see beneath the surface of the earth, see further into space, observe particles too small for my brain to comprehend. We don't know it all. We don't even know a fraction of what is true. Saying that is encouraging. It's exciting. There are so many breakthroughs yet to be made by future generations. In the words of Up, adventure awaits. Learning about the Emerald Tablet last week drove me to look at secret knowledge and the gatekeepers involved in meting out information. I learned about powerful occult figure John Dee. I found a man on YouTube digging into old newspapers, finding articles from the 1800s that prove North American history isn't accurate as it stands now. I also take a very important pit stop to talk plainly about the ethics surrounding subconscious and psychic work. I even share a powerful message from my friend Monique Pliakis. I'll give you quick tools to muscle up your own gut instincts, and I'll end with a heart-centered I love you. Let's get into it. Last week's episode, the story of the Emerald Tablet. In case you missed it, here's a quick rundown. The Emerald Tablet is a legendary slab of green stone said to contain the keys to immortality and infinite riches, whose provenance is still debated over 1,000 years later. Not only that, but the prose carved into the stone's face is said to be as convoluted as it is poetic. The discovery and deciphering of this legendary stone tablet is like an ancient game of telephone, growing more mysterious and grandiose with each telling, from being found by Alexander the Great himself lying in the arms of a golden statue, to being found at the feet of a statue of Hermes Trismegistus. The groups vying for this status they believe comes with being aligned with the tablet's discovery. That's still ongoing as well. If you want to get a real sense of it, look at the edit history on Wikipedia. It's a mess. The Christians seem to have had the most effective public relations crew so far, with many believing the saying from the tablet, as above, so below, has Rosicrucian origins, or it's the stuff of the Knights of Templar. But the truth is, the oldest known version is Arabic, possibly. There's even an internet argument for the tablet having alien origins. Boil it all down, And the reduced sauce is this. The recipes for immortality and turning lead to gold, they're purposely deceitful. They are hard to comprehend and near impossible to attain because the secrets can only be revealed by the truly devout seeker, whatever that is, right? The person worthy of the knowledge. It's a test meant for a select few and created to be achieved by an elite group. But who are the bouncers to this big divine party? Who decides who gets into this secret club? I'm not certain. I have some hunches, but I just don't know. What I do know is that it's all spiritual gatekeeping, secret societies, strange rituals, hard to procure ingredients, specific steps, but yet still vague, sigils, costumes, genders, because women need not apply. Well, what a bunch of horseshit. All this led me to spelunk down a cavern of secret societies, hidden knowledge, and hidden in plain sight truths. This and the Emerald Tablet led me to dive into John Dee. His name may seem familiar to you. He's one of the most potent and recognizable figures in the occult. He and a man who changed his name from Edward Talbot to Edward Kelly would go on to do much together, including channeling of what they called the language of the angels, the Enochian language. Here's what I found on both men from a book titled The Complete Enochian Dictionary by Donald C. Laycock, and the links to it are in the show notes. Laycock writes, according to the horoscope he later cast for himself, John Dee was born at Mortlake on the morning of 13th July 1527 under the sign of Cancer with Sagittarius in the ascendant, a good omen, say the astrologers, for a career based on learning and the occult. His father, Roland Dee, was superintendent of the royal table at the English court, but John Dee was later to claim a proud genealogy that included Welsh kings and princes, all the way back to King Arthur. Whatever the truth of these claims, it's certain that John Dee became a distinguished man in his own right. Though he published little, it is apparent that he exercised a powerful intellectual influence on the greatest minds of the time. He was a dedicated, even fanatical scholar, resolving when an undergraduate at Cambridge to spend 18 hours in study each day with only 4 hours for sleep and 2 hours for meals. He graduated Master of Arts from Cambridge in 1548 and went abroad to study further in Louvain. Later, he gave lectures at the University of Paris. They attracted so many students that they had to crowd at the windows to listen. At this time, Dee was only 23 years old. His reputation in Europe and at home continued to grow, though it was always tempered with the ignorant fear of him as a sorcerer, and he took few actual jobs, being dependent for most of his life on royal and ecclesiastical pensions, which never amounted to more than about £80 a year. For most of his life, he was chronically short of money, which is not surprising when one takes into account that he spent more than £3,000 or £80,000 in current value on building up Elizabethan England's greatest library. Some idea of the range of Dee's interests can be obtained from the contents of this library, which contained at least 2,500 printed books and manuscripts. The works dealt with mathematics, alchemy, philosophy, classical literature, geography, and the Hermetic tradition. Dee had thoroughly studied the Christian Kabbalah, particularly from the works of Cornelius Agrippa, and was able to become more and more immersed in the Kabbalistic tradition as time went on. In fact, Mirek Kazabon, in his edition of 1659 of part of the record of Dee's seances, scathingly described Dee as a Kabbalistic man up to his ears. One can get also a good impression of Dee's character from this longer statement of Kazabon, although Kazabon himself does not think much of Dee's mind, which you'll see in the statement. Quote, some men come into the world with Kabbalistic brains. Their heads are full of mysteries. They see nothing. They read nothing, but their brain is on work to pick somewhat out of it that is not ordinary, and out of the very ABC that children are taught. Rather than fail, they will fetch all the secrets of God's wisdom, tell you how the world was created, how governed, and what will be the end of all things. Reason and sense that other men go by. They think the acorns that the old world fed upon, fools and children may be content with them, but they see things by another light. End of quote. Wow, pretty scathing opinion of John Dee, isn't it? The author of the book that I'm reading, Laycock, he goes on to say, the description is a good one, but it can describe two kinds of individual, the magus or the obsessed fool. Which Dee was, the reader will have to decide on the basis of his spiritist seances. It is not known just when he began to seek or achieve effective communications with the beings he regarded as angels, but it was probably not before 1581. From about March of that year, as we learn from his private diary, he was troubled by odd dreams and strange knockings in the night. Oh, I've been disturbed by those recently, but I'm no John Dee. To those who accept the objective reality of Dee's spirits, it would seem that the spirits were anxious to get in touch with him rather than the other way around. Be that as it may, by October of that year, Dee had found a medium, one Barnabas Saul, who, using as a crystal a stone given Dee by a friend, reported to Dee the words of the angels Aniel and Michael, and who later denied seeing any spirits at all for fear of prosecution for conjuring. But Dee was dissatisfied with Saul as a medium and dismissed him after working with him for only a few months. And this leads us right square into the path of Edward Kelly. Here is the account of who Edward Kelly was. Opportunely, for Dee's appetite for spiritual communications had been thoroughly whetted, there appeared at his house in Mortlake on 8 March 1582 a man calling himself Edward Talbot, afterwards to be known by his true name of Edward Kelly. Kelly was about 27 years old at the time, but his previous life remains something of a mystery. There is a long-standing tradition, unfortunately not well substantiated, that he had his ears cut off for forgery. He seems to have been something of an occult charlatan, traveling England, living off a reputation for alchemy and the preparation of magical elixirs. On several occasions, he is known to have been in possession of old books, something in cipher, purporting to give the location of buried treasures. He was not uneducated. He had been an undergraduate at Oxford, but was apparently dismissed. He spoke Latin well enough to travel to Europe and converse with Dee's continental friends. He makes frequent grammatical mistakes, but of his general intelligence there is no doubt. Dee was at first suspicious of this young man, who offered his services as a scryer or mediumistic visionary. He seems to have thought that Kelly might have been a spy sent to gain information on his conjuring activities to report him to the authorities. But the doubts must have been resolved. For already on 10 March that year, Dee was giving the new medium a trial, with results so successful that there began on that day a strange and close association between the two men that was to last for some 7 years and to involve them in a series of actions with a host of spirits of all ages and sexes, with magical tablets, lost and miraculously restored books, buried treasure, alchemical recipes, and in the end, a curiously modern touch, wife swapping. Okay, so those accounts pretty much give you a sense of both men. And what I take away from it is, in the end, myths aside, they were just men, flaws and all, morally compromised in ways that feel relatable or very human. They might have channeled an angelic language, Enochian, or they could have dreamt it all up over goblets of syrupy burgundy in a candlelit bowel of a musty stone building, poring over ancient writings that Dee amassed at his own great expense for inspiration and direction. But they were men. A man, any man, ultimately has to eat. He has to pay bills. What is the line, though, between offering a skill, knowledge, or service for a fair price? Well, this leads me to my very important pit stop, the ethics of spiritual and subconscious service. What I'm finding as I research not just John Dee and Edward Kelly and Edgar Cayce for that matter, but other legendary figures in spirituality is that, like the Wizard of Oz, a little curtain tugging by a cute dog and a man is revealed, a human being, warts and all. Ram Dass was wonderful because he squirmed under the title guru. I love people that squirm under the title of shaman or guru. But in the case of Ram Dass, he continually reminded his audiences that he wasn't all cooked. I just absolutely love that. There are others like Ram Dass that embrace their humanness, but I also know from my own experience that some in the woo community either get high on their own followers' opinions or have gifts but still need to make a mortgage payment, so maybe they compromise here and there at first. And then there's the Insta frauds. Oh my God. But first, a true story. It was a little over a year ago when I watched a man. He had a booth of orgonite for sale, and he would beg people to touch the orgonite as they entered this metaphysical fair. He dogged down people. He pestered them until they finally gave in. Well, I'm usually a people pleaser, so when I said no, he was about as shocked as I was. The look on his face, though, when others picked up those wares, well, the saying, the cat that swallowed the canary, it totally comes to mind. There was this dark satisfaction behind his eyes, a secret knowing where this would lead. I sensed in that there was something more at play here, and I continued to watch. As I waited with my college daughter to sit with an aura reader, I noted step 2 in the guy's process. He handed people that held his orgonite his business card next. After our aura readings, I told the woman what I was seeing. I asked if he might be attaching something to people that he would later offer to remove from them for payment. And her smile turned to surprise and maybe a little horror. And I thought, did I step in it? Am I not supposed to criticize others in the metaphysical community? Was it some sort of unspoken code of conduct? But then she loosened up and told me and Bryn about him. Apparently, he always sets up his booth right at the entrance of every metaphysical fair that she's been to. And yes, she'd read auras before people touched his orgonite and then afterwards and noticed something. Before, their auras were these solid ovals like eggshells, complete. And then after touching the orgonite, she noticed gaps, spider-webby fractures, and in some instances, what looked like dark splinters or projections into their aura. She noticed this unsettling pattern and offered to help people for free, cleansing their energies and putting up spiritual protections with them. Well, if you're on Insta, oh my God, then you have probably not only known but felt firsthand what it's become, a cesspool of pseudo-psychics, frauds, fakers, imposters. They are hurting more than themselves and their unsuspecting customers. They are undermining people with real talent and a desire to help others with their gifts. The whole thing makes me both sad and frustrated. And it's led a lot of my dear friends in that community to put on their bios, I will never DM you for a free reading. So really, don't fall for this. Don't. For 10,000 Insta psychics, there's one treasure like Derek Condit, or Miss Molly Knows, or Karen Rontowski, or Monique Poliakis, or Heidi Stock, or Scarlett Darkwood, and I'm sure there are others. They have a few things in common. First, they always give more time than their sessions are allotted for. And second, they are reluctant to take money for their work. But they do, but they're reluctant to. I don't know what the best course of action is. Maybe I do. If you see someone impersonating a light worker that you know, please DM that profile link to them. Next, block and report that impersonator. And I'm reminded of the hard work you and I have done together throughout this podcast and other resources that we've cultivated in the last 2 years. I want to pull together those and put them in one place. It's leading to this, a simple list that reminds us of what we know and use that moving forward. Number 1, don't be chosen. Choose. So if you're DM'd by an alleged psychic, they are choosing you. Listen to the alarm bells in your head. If they are pretending to be someone, then report their account and block them. For my part, I always unfollow anyone that DMs me saying they have information for me from whatever guide, blah, blah, blah. They saw something and they need to tell me. And, the biggest trap for them is if they mention a recent death of maybe a parent, because I'm so over the top obvious about that. But number 2, if you're interested in a tarot reading, Reiki, or a session, go to a person's website directly. Don't click a link that is sent to you. 3, a free initial reading first. Okay, let that set off your alarm bell. It's like a car mechanic that offers to look under your hood for free, then tosses in a monkey wrench and tells you it'll cost you this much to remove it. I know it's a stupid analogy, but you get the idea, right? But there is no free. That's the whole point. The process of that free reading, I guarantee it will involve opening you up, and you have to be vulnerable and drop your protective walls, which is an opportunity for someone to implant something in you. Hypnotists can do this too. My friend Monique shared some information about the ethics of hypnotism with me, and she gave me permission to share that with you. Here it is, if I can stitch it into the podcast.
Hey everyone. I want to talk about ethics in hypnotherapy. I mentioned in my hypnotherapy FAQ talking about the difference between stage hypnosis and hypnotherapy. And there's something I didn't say, but I kind of hinted to it where I said we're going to talk about ethics, and we're going to do that now. One of the things when it comes to stage hypnotherapy, and this is just my personal opinion, so I'm not knocking anybody who does this, I'm just saying it's my own personal opinion. I can't help but think it's rather unethical to do stage hypnosis on children. When you see hypnotists go to schools and they hypnotize children on stage for entertainment, and when they do it in bars and clubs where they're bringing up people who have imbibed in alcohol, they're under the influence. And I want to share why. When you bring a child up to hypnotize them, you might have their consent, but do you have their parents' consent? Odds are probably not, because I remember in the 80s when I was in school, going to my elementary school, they did that, and nobody got parental permission to do that. Anytime I do hypnotherapy, if it's with a child, it's always with parental consent. I would never do hypnotherapy on somebody under the age of 18, especially a child, without their parents saying it's okay. And I know this is going to spark debate about, not everyone has the best parents who are looking out for them. I get that. But when it comes to a form of entertainment, hypnotizing somebody, do you really think it's okay to hypnotize a child? I just don't. And when it comes to hypnotizing people who are under the influence of, usually it's alcohol, I also think that it's unethical. And the reason why is because somebody's not at full capacity. And I don't think they're in the best place to be making those decisions. And also when people have drinks, yeah, they're going to be more open to suggestion. Obviously, it makes them perfect targets. But again, I just don't think that that is the most ethical thing to do when it comes to hypnosis. So I might get a lot of hate for sharing this, but that's my own ethical feeling on it. I just don't think it's right to do hypnosis on children and people under the influence, especially if it's for entertainment.
So it's not common, but it has happened that a nefarious hypnotist will put a block in someone that only they can remove. Just be aware. 4, see any hiring of a psychic as one that demands trust that is earned, and keep your skepticism right there with you. I was listening to a psychic story yesterday, and the host, Nicole Bigley, was speaking with Angie Castor. The link to the episode is in the show notes for you. Angie had lost her son, and in the months after, she sought out opinions from psychics. She chose the psychic mediums. Great, right? She scheduled the sessions, and before each session, she Googled herself to see what they could find online about her. Even after those sessions, she looked at the information revealed, emotional as it was, with a skeptic's eye. Smart. She made them earn her trust. That all leads to number 5. Note your emotions. Just take note when your emotions are stronger than your logical side. Admit it. A simple chat to yourself like, wow, my emotions are in charge right now. They may help you see that you're tuning in more with your emotions in that moment. That alone will help you stay in balance. And also listening to that gut and logic together leads us to number 6. If it feels bad for you, it is bad for you. You, precious one. You're a living, breathing lie detector. Listen to yourself. And people pleaser be damned. Even if mid-session, if you feel in any way uncomfortable, say stop. And then number 7, cut all cords, ties, and tethers. Every session with any professional should end with a cutting of all ties and tethers and cords and connections. It can be done in love. If it wasn't done during the session, forgotten maybe in the shuffle of, going offline, whatever, you can still do this on your own. Ask your guides and your angels to be with you to cut and sever all ties and tethers. And a final cleanse after a session like that is to take a quick shower to spiritually wash off all remnants of that session and reestablish your protections. And number 8, I just need to say this in my deepest mama voice. Just because you said yes, agreed at one point, that does not mean you are unable to revoke your consent now. You can always revoke your consent, always. I found a guy on YouTube you need to know about. He goes by Analog the Archivist, and I've put the link to his channel in the show notes. He's been finding old newspaper articles and recounting what he's learning state by state. He's found hundreds of articles from newspapers spanning the United States that give detailed accounts of massive underground cities found 100 feet below Earth's surface, even deeper in a lot of instances. There have been mummies of giants found in almost every state in the U.S., pyramids as massive as those in Egypt, mounds filled with remnants from sophisticated cultures that don't fit into the whole nomadic, then agrarian narrative we all memorized in school. And massive walls. I'm talking walls that rival the Great Wall of China. There's one in Montana. It's mind-boggling. Oh, and dragons? This links to last week because at least one dragon found by a farmer, said by the experts that inspected it to be the only known specimen with wings intact found. The last article on the find mentions that the Smithsonian will be, quote, coming soon to procure the specimen. These aren't one-offs. They are accounts written by professors and scientists, then confirmed by others in the field. Each one seems to end with that ominous statement that goes something like this: these finds will change the course of history and what we know about who was here before us. A group from the Smithsonian will be here in the weeks to come to examine the site and artifacts. And then it's silence. Nothing. Zip. Zero. Nada. The Smithsonian, though? In case you haven't visited the museums in DC, there's no dragon on display, no giant mummies from the United States or giant skeletons. Asked time and again over the last century about these articles, they deny knowledge of any of these. But recently, FOIA requests have been answered, and we're learning more and more and confirming some of these old newspaper articles specifically about giant skeletons. But I don't want to spoil your fun going down that rabbit hole. But what this new picture of the past reveals, that what we know about the history of North and South America is at best curated with a heavy hand. Truth be damned. Analog tries to stick to the articles, but every now and again he can't help but speculate on the whos and the whys, that the real history is ignored or buried or bought or hidden. He mentions the well-funded Smithsonian. He also says it could be laziness or academics that have books written in another, way, with another voice, with another story that nobody really wants to take time to fix. Every article, I get as furious as I get excited with each revelation. Why the lies? Why the gatekeeping? Why? I'm not sure we'll ever get a satisfying, meaty answer to that question. And I think maybe it is a distraction from actually tapping into that divine, secret, sacred knowledge ourselves. We are equipped to do that. I've been reminded over the last 4 weeks with Archangel Orion that we are all living in a body that is like the perfect battery pack to connect us with the celestial and the earthly. And when you put the battery pack of us into that little compartment, like a toy that you bought for your child, it animates. And if you stay in the present, you can actually ask these questions and receive answers. You have your senses, your guides, your angels and ancestors, and in your every cell, DNA that holds the same divine knowledge. You just have to first believe it. Believe that this is so. And then second, tell your guides to speak louder. You can even ask them to use the signs you request to let you know they are with you. Like a red balloon, like a butterfly, whatever comes to your mind, ask them to communicate with that symbol. And like muscles, after a long period without regular exercise, they need to be worked too, these muscles. They need to be strengthened. They need to be conditioned to be used better. And like the exercise analogy, because I haven't stretched it thin enough, make it playful. Time you look forward to every day. Devote 10 minutes each day over the next week to tuning into your guides. But then what? Struggling with how to begin? Well, first, focus on your breath. Breathe in And then exhale, releasing the day, all that no longer serves you. Next, like Monique said in a prior message, say hello to your guides. Hello, guides. Then listen. Let go of expectation and really be present. Listen. Have paper and pen handy to write down or draw what you see, feel, smell, hear, know. What I love is right now I have swirling energy on my right side. So my guides are with me as I'm telling you this. Hello, guides. Hello. I love you. Then next, enjoy your day. Do the same thing for the next, 5 days, 10 days, and then reflect and see if you start seeing things come up more. If you see those symbols that you ask them to speak to you in show up more, you're like, okay, I'm over the red balloons. How about we try a yellow balloon? And they're going to actually show up for you. But also see if there's messages that you can put together like a 100-piece puzzle and you can see a bigger picture. And it helps you feel like you have more direction. And on top of it, that you have an army of these beautiful, unseeable, invisible army of loving light beings that are in your corner, cheering for you and trying to help you to have the best day possible and to also glean knowledge that is divine, that has been locked away by these secret societies for centuries. You don't need a special key. You are the special key. Thank you for listening to Curious Cat. If you like the content, would you recommend us to a friend you think would like us as well? I would be so appreciative. Next week, we are putting on our hiking boots and we are stomping into the Cascade Mountain Range again because I remember in elementary school, my favorite teachers would say, gosh, you've done a lot of really good work. Let's have a popcorn party on Friday. So this is our popcorn party. We have done so much work. So let's do a spooky visit to the Ring of Fire. Until next week, stay curious. I love you.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Are you looking for a new podcast that appeals to your scientific curiosity, but is also a little bit spooky?
Show me how I died in a past life.
Well, look no further, because this cat is where it's at.
He had concerns about the ethics surrounding AI, feeling they had achieved consciousness.
Curious Cat Podcast examines the shadowy space where science and the supernatural collide. Listen every week with your host, Jennifer Holtz, as she and her guests explore what it means to be a soul in a meat suit.
We were healing karma together. They were all kind of predestined to resolve something.
Listen on all your favorite streaming apps and continue the conversation on Twitter at CuriousCatPodCA, or find Jennifer and all her links at Jennifer L. Holtz, spelled HOTES.com.